Road to Vostok, a solo-developed stalker-like FPS, just got a massive demo update, and it's actually crazy how much has changed. I've been very impressed with this game project, as it's an incredible example of what not just a single developer can do with game tools, but also what someone can do in the Godot engine, a free game engine. Jumping back into the latest update of this demo, the game feels way more immersive and fleshed out. Let's check it out. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Road to Vostok, it is a single-player hardcore survival game heavily inspired by Tarkov and Stalker. Over the past couple of years, Auntie, the lone developer, has taken the project from a pretty bare bones but interesting concept to a near fully realized gameplay demo. In that time, not only has he built the entire foundation for the game, but he's also ported the whole project from the Unity game engine to the open source free Godot engine. This was in response to Unity's wildly unpopular policy change, where they decided to charge a fee based on game installs, which only recently have they actually walked back, but man was the damage done. And this was not the only game to abandon the Unity engine, but it wasn't done without significant cost and time. A massive 600-hour process that it took to do the initial conversion, and even then there's clearly some things in the Godot engine that were much harder to get looking right compared to Unity. But that initial conversion was finished 9 months ago, and the latest update for the demo has addressed several of my concerns that Godot brought to the game, while adding a ton of new content and making major improvements to the game's core systems like AI and loot. Loading up the new demo for the first time and seeing the improved maps and lighting, it was like someone had finally flipped the switch from this being a proof of concept to a proper survival experience. The previous build was impressive, but the maps felt kind of barren and isolated from each other. More like playgrounds used to demonstrate the concept of the game. You could see level boundaries clearly, and the density of buildings and foliage was kind of artificially low. And it was also quite light on the gameplay elements, where you would just kind of go from one building to the next without a whole lot of gameplay stuff in between. With the new demo, the maps feel way more updated and fleshed out. There's new buildings, pathways, connectors, size changes. They've basically all had their layouts tweaked to better utilize the available space. The shipyard in particular feels much larger while also feeling denser at the same time. The minefield map has a new trench system that opens up a new area of the map to explore. The updated layout also includes new pathways that previously walled off areas, like smaller tunnels on the highway that now connect two larger tunnels together. I spent a good chunk of my time just walking around the map to soak in the atmosphere. Even the boundaries and transition areas of the map are looking better. There's more trees and elevation changes to the edge of the map that kind of hide the border better, plus some new set dressing to make them feel like actual borders and not game borders, like caution tape. There still feels like there's a bit of work left to do on this front, but a huge improvement. Now, one of the things I noticed that felt like a pretty big downgrade when this game was first ported to Godot was just the lighting and sound effects, where the Unity build of this engine looked really good even early in development thanks to Unity's robust tools for those things. And while Godot seems to be plenty capable in many regards, it's clear there were some challenges to overcome to get this engine even on par with the Unity build. Some of the new additions in this latest update are indoor occlusion probes, water reflection and ice, dynamic ambient sound effects, and some new post-processing. But also the dev seems to have spent some time reworking the lighting in general, moving things around, changing angles and whatnot to just work on the maps and improve them. I noticed that each of the time of day settings looks more specific to that time of day rather than just the sun being in a different position now, with better lighting, color grading, and everything. I'd say the visuals feel almost on par with the original Unity demo, which is great because this game is kind of a showcase for what the Godot engine can do. Godot so far has been used primarily in like smaller kind of top-down 2D indie games, and when it gets pushed into the 3D realm, well, a lot of new tools need to be added and invented, frankly, to make it look as good as other games. But if more and more developers can show off what it can do in a 3D FPS environment and actually make it look good, I think the adoption rates of Godot are going to go up considerably. Now, obviously visuals are one thing, but the new AI mechanics actually surprised me when I first got got into it. They now wander around and enter buildings without even being aware of my presence. It's like they're actually looking for me or scouting a landscape. They also react to getting shot at by either hiding or finding a new angle of attack. I actually found myself clearing rooms and checking corners or looking for open exterior doors this time around. You now actually fight against them rather than using them as more or less target practice. I'd say they might even be a little too challenging to fight right now, since you start with a very basic loadout that includes either a pistol or a shotgun. And there's not yet a good sense of progression in terms of the actual difficulty of enemies. Auntie has 3 updates planned for this build of the demo that are going to focus on optimization, content, and then balancing. So hopefully we'll see some changes to the starting area enemies, like them being less brutal or having them respawn with specific triggers, like, I don't know, a van dropping them off so you can at least be aware of them and plan for them a little bit better. One thing that Vostok is definitely starting to get right is a sense of desperation and scarcity. Sustained combat constantly ate up my medical supplies and my ammo. I had to manage those resources by looting everything I could find or switching to different weapons that still had rounds left. And by the time I'd circle a whole map, I was basically limping my way home with a backpack full of empty guns and trinkets to sell. I was already making questions about my plans of action or how I could do things differently, forcing myself to make choices based on the gear I had left available. All of the core survival game elements that I like the most are here and working really well. It just needs a little extra cleanup on the areas and enemy balance to, I think, bring this concept home. Now, of course, there was a bunch of smaller additions and improvements since the last time I played. There's a new trader that offers medical supplies now, and both of the traders offer tasks that you can complete to earn specific items. Ammo is also now divided into types specific to certain guns. The tutorial is now updated to be more in depth, and it covers all the new features basically. And a small addition, but also an important one, is the mines can now be shot to detonate them, allowing you to carve a new path through a minefield if you want. Now, this free demo build, along with some of the updates that it's going to get, is going to be the final build before the game goes into early access sometime next year. Early access will be phase 2 of the game's development lifecycle, and Auntie will be doing a live stream covering the roadmap he has planned later this month. And while I'm not entirely sure where this game's going to end up with its final vision, it's already feeling like a proper survival game, which is a huge challenge in itself. So I'm feeling very optimistic about its future. Once Auntie starts implementing more advanced character systems, missions, progression, lore, I think Road to Vostok will really come into its own. The prospect of a single-player game that offers a comparable experience to titles like Escape from Tarkov, just without all that Tarkoviness, has me quite excited. Auntie has also expressed interest in supporting mods and is working on a dedicated tool for modding the game after launch. And considering how much demand there is to mod games like Tarkov, but players aren't allowed to really, this could actually be a huge attractor for Vostok. Now, I've covered this game several times in the past, and I'd be curious to hear if you guys have checked out Vostok yet. The demo is free, which is great, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about it in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. Next up, check out this other game that's basically a Russian Half-Life clone, also made by a solo dev, and it's fantastic. I think you guys will enjoy the video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.